Antony Starr, welcome to An Actor's Spares. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm good. It's such an honor, man. I'm such a big fan of your work. One of the things that's a reoccurring theme on this podcast is the separation between good acting and great acting. And you are one of the greatest actors. Like watching you in Banshee, man, that was a really, a show like that that's like spectacle driven and character driven is a really hard thing to balance. But I love that show. And that's where I discovered you. And I was like, man, this
Oh,
handsome
well, thanks.
motherfucker can act. Like and he's good. So I was like, ah, good justice
Yeah.
prevails, man.
Oh, well, that's really kind of you, man. And that was the first show that I did in America, so I do look back on it very fondly. And I mean, I had a ball doing that. It was
Yeah,
just
it looked
it was
like
a
it.
great intro. Yeah,
I had Tommy on the show and he was singing your praises.
Tom Pelfrey.
Yeah.
We had a bromance right off the bat, man. We immediately just clicked, and we're still good friends now. So it's I got to catch up with him actually in this crazy times that we live in. But
Yeah, I know. He's crushing it, man.
well, it's funny because he came on the show in season, I think it was season 2 or 3.
It was right when your girlfriend died.
It was season 3, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember watching him, and there's not that many actors, in all honesty, that I'm around when I get not jealous, but like wow, like kind of blown away. I mean, I saw him in a couple of scenes, and I was really pretty fucking blown away, man. Like he's such a talented guy.
Yeah.
So
Alexa
we
Fogle,
were
man.
lucky to get him.
She knows how to find him. But dude,
She's
you're the
amazing.
star, man. I'm the boys, like everything you're doing, man, and your journey starting in New Zealand. What's it been? Well, let's start from the beginning. So you grew up in New Zealand, right?
Yeah. I was born in Wellington, and little old Wellington, and then we moved up to Auckland when I was about 6 or 7.
Okay.
Went to finish school, yada yada yada, and then really didn't know what I wanted to do, and traveled for a couple of years. And
parents artists at all? Like, I'm curious how the art. Like, did you always have an interest?
I had an interest in painting and creativity in general, but I wasn't one of those people that grew up wanting to be an actor or anything like that. I was really, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I decide I want to get a real job and grow up.
Man, you're too good.
Well, I don't know, man. It's one of those things, I've heard a lot of actors pulling out that cliche, of people don't find acting finds you, sort of thing. But and I didn't believe it, but now I'm over here, and it's the reason that I am over here and away from home is very specifically for work, and so I'm inclined to lean into that stereotype a little more.
Amazing. I feel naive for not knowing, but what's like the New Zealand film landscape like? Is there much of like I know Jermaine Clement, obviously is the
I mean, so I mean, there's some incredible talent in New Zealand. There really is. But a lot of the time, it's incredible talent that hears the word no a lot, because there just isn't the private finance going around. Like all the films are made by the Film Commission. There's New Zealand On Air and a few other funding bodies, but there is not. I guess everything's changed slightly with the way that format and HD and everything is made. You can make a lot more for a lot less. So that's helped a lot of content get made down there. But it still is it's a pretty barren landscape in terms of opportunity for creatives. So it can be pretty tough. I've got a lot of friends. Is that your dog or my dog?
Yeah, that's my dog. I'm so sorry.
Okay, great. It's okay. No, it's fine. My dog's on the balcony, and she likes.
Guys, shut up, please.
I know. Am I gonna have to tell her to shut up?
Yeah.
I love you, but shut up.
Yeah.
But no, it's. Look, I love home. I want to work there again, but it can be very difficult. Like I was gonna say, I've got a lot of friends who are really talented and struggle to find work. So inevitably, everyone at some point will either go to Australia or over here or both. Yeah. And even if they don't physically go there, basically the way the world has shifted in terms of putting tapes down and sending auditions via the interweb.
Yeah.
It has made the world a lot smaller. So it's more global than it was for some of my older friends, say, that came up in the 90s and those opportunities weren't there. So it's better, but it's slim pickings down there, man.
Yeah, man. So then what was your journey? When did it find you?
So I did a bunch of commercials and smaller TV roles, and then the thing that really the first real full-time job that I ever had was a show called Outrageous Fortune in New Zealand, and that went for 6 years.
That was a huge hit there, wasn't it?
It was world famous in New Zealand. Yes.
Yeah.
It was it really was a great bunch of people. It's that thing, the chemistry set was right across the board, from the writers to the directors to the cast. Everyone was the right person in the right moment in the right place, and it connected with New Zealand in a way that no show has had up till then. And I mean, to a certain extent, there's probably a good argument that no show has since. It really was it really did take off, which was great for all of us involved, because that was I remember that was the first time I this sort of day in day out was going to work on a set, and that really it really helped me decide, one, that I wanted to do it, and two, that I could do it, and you get past the newness of everything and get into a position of actually feeling really comfortable on set and starting to expand creatively, rather than sort of going on to foreign sets for small chunks of time, and then before you know what's going on, you're off set, and it can be ruthlessly quick. But getting on set all day every day was a game changer. So it was great.
That's amazing. And do you feel like in some ways this was your drama school, your conservatory, this show, like learning by doing?
Yeah, very much. To a certain extent. I'd done classes.
Oh, okay.
Various classes. Yeah. Sorry, in my early 20s and mid 20s, I was lucky. I met some really great New Zealand.
You're talented, man.
Yeah. I mean, well, for a small country, New Zealand punches above its weight, and thankfully, that's attracted a couple of really good teachers down there. So I had the fortune of meeting them, and but yeah, being on set and working on the show day in day out, definitely, in terms of film and TV work, helped to crystallize a lot of things and distill a lot of things for me. And just really, I mean, it's like, what do they say, 10,000 hours to become?
Yeah.
I mean, in this case, I think average, very average.
Yeah.
And I think, so getting 10,000 hours on a show that was successful, and it really set things up. And then I popped off to Australia. And
how many seasons of that show did you do?
We did 6.
Wow.
6 of 20. Yeah. So we did a lot. And I played twins on the show. So I was a dumb character and a smart character effectively. Yeah. So I had a lot of, that was really interesting as well, because I had a different relationship with the directors in that I had to create scenes with myself.
Yeah.
Almost on a daily basis. So the extra work that I had to put in really helped me develop an understanding for what's going on for the other person, and rather than be so focused on what I'm doing, really starting to shift focus away from your own perspective, that very subjective experience in a scene, and into a more objective perspective, and see what's the scene actually about.
Yeah.
Right. Which is great. It's a really good exercise, and I think I would recommend anyone do it, because a lot of actors that I've worked with have a tendency to come in and they know exactly what things are from their perspective, but have never considered the alternative, the other person's. And I think you can cut through a lot of, you can save a lot of time, and also expand a lot of your own awareness of what the story is, and what your place in it is, and serve the needs of the story better if you've got a broader awareness, less, no, I don't want to say egotistical, but less based on your perspective and more on the overall, what's going on in this scene, and how does it benefit story, and how there's bigger things at play than you. And I think that's really important to keep that in focus. And that was the show that really forced me into a situation where I had to start thinking about that and looking at that, because if not, the scenes, they wouldn't work. And so it was actually that was pretty amazing to be able to do that for 6 years.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I'm curious then, with the Australia pivot, is that like, if you're living in New Zealand, is that the LA, kind of move? Like,
yes, sort of. It's like it's like Sydney is a bigger version of Auckland, and LA is a bigger version of Sydney. So So it's like a step. I don't want to say a stepping stone, because Australia's got a great industry, a very strong, very solid industry, and they make some really fantastic.
Yeah, I just had this great actor, Toby Wallace, on. Become a good friend, man. He's crushing it. Him and Ben Mendelsohn did a movie called Baby Teeth. You got to check it out.
Oh, I don't know him, but I'm a huge fan of Mendelsohn. I think.
Oh God, he's so great, man. Yeah,
he's so good. And it's great. Like he's been knocking around for a long time. I think the first thing I saw him in was an Australian film called Mullet.
Yeah.
It's crazy. A long time ago. But he's finally getting the recognition that he deserves.
Yeah, because he started working as like a teenager there, right?
He's been around for a long time, and I've always liked him. I think he's fucking amazing. He's reaping the rewards of his success. Talents.
It's great. Amazing, man. And I'm curious then, when you were there, what kind of projects were you like? Who were some of your contemporaries at that time?
So I actually, I was over in, I flew myself over to Australia just to, when the show finished in New Zealand, I was like, okay, well, I've got to do something. I've got to be looking for work. And just went over and went on a casting call around casting agents, and just, I hadn't been there for work. So just thought I'd just go and see what was going on. And,
totally.
to go into a casting agent called Kirsty McGregor, and she was casting a film for Blue Tongue. And Blue Tongue Films are the guys that did an Australian film called Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
And right, so they were casting a film, and off the bat, while I was there, they said, "Oh, do you want to cold read for this film?" And I went, "Sure thing," and did, and then went round, did the rest of my meetings, and left. And then they called back and said, "We love it. Can you come back over and do a sort of a screen test with Joel
Edgerton?" Yeah.
And so I went back, and we pushed each other around in a room. And I got it, and that was the first. It was great. I just sort of walked from New Zealand into a job over there. So I went over and shot that with them, and that was Wish You Were Here, which was fantastic, and those guys are amazing. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I lucked out. It was great. And then TV shows over there, and then it was on the right home about, in all honesty. But it was great. I kept working, and that was the important thing. Is I kept,
Yeah.
you keep doing different projects
Staying
and learning and
inspired and
growing.
learning. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you're doing, there's always something to take out of it. There's always something to get out of it if you've got the right sort of attitude around things. There's always something to learn, even if it's from by someone's negative example,
Yeah.
or you learn that you shouldn't have taken this job.
Yeah, it's funny. Jack Quaid and I did a really horrible movie together. So, yeah.
You know what?
Yo, brother, I think your headphones are cutting out.
Oh, shit, really?
Yeah. No, they're in and out, but it's.
Oh, they are?
Like, you're fine now, but then they cut out. So
I wonder if they're popping out my ears.
Now you're perfect right now. Check. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah. So, yeah, Jack Quaid and I did a horrible movie, so I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, those horrible movies, I've found you learn a lot more from.
Totally.
You really learn from your mistakes, and especially around your own. I don't want to be too dramatic about it and say your own integrity, but to a certain extent, that is what I mean around. If your gut tells you not to do a job, don't do it.
Yeah.
And every time I've been on a job where I've been really frustrated and really kind of upset with the result, I knew before I went in.
Instinctually, you had that.
Yeah, it didn't feel right. And then maybe there's been a couple of times when I got, I was a little, especially when I was coming up, I didn't have money and they offered money, and so I went, oh fuck it, yeah, great.
Yeah.
We were gonna eat, and there is a reality in that as well. So that's why I don't want to sound too precious about it, because at the end of the day, I do have a slightly working class attitude towards it. That we've all got to work.
Yeah, man.
You can't eat. You can't eat and pay the rent with your own integrity, and
no, it gets you nowhere.
You know what I mean? I mean, landlords tend to frown on that.
Yeah.
So realistically, like, there's been times when I've taken jobs and then been miserable, but they've served the purpose. They've got me.
You got to survive.
I mean, you survive through them, and you learn from them, and you move forward. And, so then, something like at the end of a couple of years in Australia, something like Banshee comes along, and I think.
Was America always kind of in your mind? Like, at some point, I'm gonna go there and give it a try, or
sort of. I've been over in the States a couple of times. Well, for a number of times, but only for short stints, like 3 or 4 weeks here and there. But I'd had representation over here for a couple of years, and then with nothing really came up. And then I think, like I say, you learn and you grow, and you life catches up, and you're in the right position to walk into the right room and sort of stick it, and I'm a great believer in timing, and good luck being the combination of timing and hard work. So I really do think that everything that you've done leading up, even if it's been positive or negative, whatever, is standing you in good stead to walk into the next thing and be positioned appropriately, or it's not the right time. So, and I think that helps you keep that horrible competitive edge away. It's not good to be competitive with people, or comparing yourself too much with other people, because comparison is the thief of joy. So,
compare and despair, man. I know it well.
I mean, you can really drive yourself fucking nuts by looking at what other people have got and pining for it, instead of just
especially
focusing
watching
on yourself.
Friends of yours rise faster than you are.
Yeah,
nobody
and
wins in that game.
No, it's horrible. You know, there's I've never bought into that, because I do believe that everyone's on their own trip without getting too metaphysical, but everyone's got their own path, you know, and you're on it. And it's sad though. I have lost a few friends over the years that got a little competitive with me, and it's quite a negative energy to be around. So
I'm just encountering the same thing myself. It's really interesting that you're saying that.
Yeah, it's really tough, and it's a bummer, because you want, you know, I want everyone to work. I want everyone to feel good about where they're at and feel good about where I'm at, and that's kind of how I treat everyone else. So I if it's not reciprocated, I find that it's a very difficult it's a difficult space to be in for everyone, you know. It's not good for them, it's not good for you. So
I think, you know, especially during this pandemic, I think there's been a lot of room for, you know, more so the energy you want to surround yourself with and the energy that you don't want to surround yourself with. And
I mean, this is a very reflective time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we're really forced into that, into a position of we're forced to stop, and then a lot of stuff comes up with that, and it's a crazy time to be alive, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at being a beautiful and insanely talented man, when you came to the States, I'm sure, you know, Marvel and all these things and Hollywood studio movies were coming your way. Like, talk to me about the Banshee thing. How did that come?
No, it was not like that at all, my friend. It was,
what should have been?
I wish it had been. Yeah, exactly. What the fuck? What happened? Why didn't they do that?
Yeah.
It was not like that. It was, you know, I think actually the Banshee thing was just something that came up. I was in Sydney working on a show, and they asked me to put a tape down for this action show, and I did for the lead role of this action show. And I was thinking the whole time, you know, I've never done any action. I've never done anything like that. I have a martial arts background from a long time ago.
Awesome.
But yeah, when I was a kid, I did karate for 6-7 years, but that's a long time ago.
I made it 6 months before I was like, this sucks.
Yeah, I know. I don't like getting hit too much.
It's not fun. Yeah.
But so anyway, I put a tape down, and they liked it, and then they flew me over for a whirlwind screen test with Alan Ball and Greg Utanas, Jonathan Tropper, they were all the creators of the show.
Yeah.
And they cast me 4 hours after the screen test, because they wanted me to come back. And so that was I believe it was on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Flew over on the Friday, slept, had meetings that day on the Friday by the time I got here. Then the Saturday had the screen test at midday. By 4 or 5 p.m. they told me, hey, you've got it, and we want you in again at 10 a.m. to read with the 3 candidates we've got for the lead girl role.
Yeah.
So I went, celebrated very, very briefly, and then went in the next day and read with the girls, and Ivana Milicevic got it, and that was all she. And then I flew out that evening to get back, and then I was on set at 8 a.m. on the Monday morning, and it was just a whirlwind trip. It was such a bizarre thing. Then I finished this job and went home to New Zealand for 3 days, and then took off for North Carolina. It was so bizarre. So
you guys shot it in North Carolina?
Yeah, the first 3 seasons in Charlotte, North Carolina, and partially in New Orleans, but only a very small snippet.
Oh, that's right. You guys had that one. Yeah.
Yeah, we had the one sequence with Chayton Littlestone, and then season 4, the state got rid of its
incentives.
North Carolina got rid of the incentives.
I'm from Virginia, so you know, same thing happened to Virginia.
Yeah, a little bit foolish, but you know, that was the way it went. So we went up to Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
shot up in Pennsylvania for the last season, which was I don't know, interesting.
Yeah.
It was interesting. There's a lot. Pittsburgh's got a lot of character. I actually had a really great time there, but there was a lot of it's an interesting town. You know, there's a lot of rebuilding going on.
Well, for those who are probably listening to the wrong podcast if they don't know, Banshee was this amazing show that existed on Cinemax when they were doing such amazing content. And that show, I mean, I felt like it must have been the most fun show to be on because I felt like every episode had a $30 million budget, you know? It's like
No, we just had I mean, it wasn't a low budget.
But it looked like it was a blast, and you as Lucas Hood, man, you were so amazing as that character. You know, it's easy to settle into a show like that and not find the nuances and the layers to that, and to just kind of keep doing. But you always, you know, man, you kept me entertained. You know, you were the reason that I kept watching that show, and usually that kind of show wouldn't be my thing, but you were fantastic, and I loved you, and that's where I just became
awesome.
Yeah, man. It was so wonderful watching you work. It was great. And then you and is it Trieste? How do you
Trieste Caledon,
yeah, you guys had such great chemistry and then so many great talents on that show.
There was, and Greg Yatenis, who's the showrunner, did a pretty he was really good, and I don't. This is not a humble brag, but he's very, very good at picking people and putting a group together that is compatible and creatively enhance each other's, you know, the chemistry set again. You know, he really is extremely good at that. And our DP Christopher Luna was amazing. So he made it look like he made that show look like $1 million or 30 million, as you said.
Yeah, and, it looked like a Nolan movie to me. I was like, you know,
I know it really did. He's a really great DP, and he was, you know, swears like a little pirate, but he's amazing. And then the rest of everyone, it was just everything came together again, and I think one of the reasons I think they expected it to be a broader action show. I've talked to Jonathan about this, who's the writer creator of it, and he anticipated that it would be a much more of just an action driven, stock standard sort of sassy quip here and there, but mostly just brawn and all that. But they hired actors that I'd never done action, and I was used to standing in bedrooms with girls arguing about breakups, you know, and like dramatic stuff. And excuse me. So I think when they put the cast together and put it up on screen, everyone was digging underneath and really trying to get as much drama or arguably melodrama in there as possible. And it just made the end result a lot more interesting than if it had just been a stock standard action. That said, the action sequences were pretty epic, and
that police shootout it was like insane,
crazy.
Yeah,
we had a schedule that was. I mean, we were an hour and a half behind before we started. At breakfast, we were an hour and a half behind. You know, It was so packed, and we had to rush. And really get through a lot of material very, very quickly.
Were you doing most of your own stunts?
Most. Let me put it this way: if you ever see anyone flipping or doing anything that looks like an insurance risk, it's probably not me. But then we would have to do full. We have to know every part of the fight. Because what they like to do is shoot the fight in wide shots a lot of the time with the actors, so they could always use it.
Got it.
And so we put a lot of training in with the fight sequences, and it's funny actually. I always laugh at this. They're so lucky that I knew how to throw a punch, because when I went through a screen test, nobody asked the question. You know, you're coming to do this action show, and nobody checked that. they said, have you ever done, like, what fight training have you done? And I said, oh, I did martial arts when I was a kid. End of story.
Wow.
That was it. We never did a physical check. We never did anything to see how I moved, whether I could do choreography or anything like that. They went ahead and cast, and it was.
And riding a motorcycle.
No, I can't ride a motorcycle.
Oh, that wasn't you?
No. That was me up on a lowrider, dude. On a platform. Looking badass. And I can do this. And
working with
going,
Frankie, man. You and Frankie, your scenes are so good.
Love Frankie.
Oh, the best.
I mean, Frankie's amazing, man. And he was actually, I think my first scenes up were with him, and we clicked immediately. We just got on like a house on fire, and that, I think that reflects in the scenes as well. We had a real ease on the show personally, which reflected in the work. There was a lot of little moments that we could find because we actually enjoyed each other. So it was great, man. We had a really good crew on that show, and it was a lot of painful, but a lot of fun. Those fight sequences, man, they hurt.
Oh, I'm sure they looked like they did. And the squibs and all the other, But I'm
crazy.
I'm so curious to ask you, brother. When you come out of the show, I mean, you had done the show in New Zealand. You got 6 seasons. Banshee, you got 4 seasons. And I mean, I discovered you then because I love Cinemax, and retroactively looked at your other. And I'm curious, what was interesting to you, Antony? Like, what was coming your way? What made you sign up? Like, did The Boys, was that the next thing that?
Yeah, I think I did another show in between.
American Gothic.
American Gothic.
Yeah.
And,
you were great.
Whilst I love the people on that, I'm not. If I'm honest, the show did not. The result was not.
Some of its parts didn't add up in the way you. I think.
It just wasn't. It wasn't what we planned for. It wasn't what we anticipated, and in the end result. And like I said, I love all the people on it. It was great in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
that was one of the ones I learned a lot from. So,
Touché.
we were, and so we were. Me and my reps were like we were pretty selective, and
were you pretty exhausted of TV at this point? Did you want to go do some indies or a Marvel movie? Or
look, if whatever opportunities come up, you entertain any of them, and it's just what was coming along at that point, because the industry also contracted. The independent feature side of things really contracted after 2008, and that was around when I started coming over to America.
Got it.
And because I primarily had TV, and there was some films in there, but what was going on in the States was the expansion of the TV industry and the collapse of the independent feature market, because the industry became so risk averse. So it was either ultra high budget or ultra low budget, like the that horror franchise that they made those films for about $500K, and
the Blumhouse thing.
What was it? Paranormal Activity.
And The Conjuring and all that shit.
Such low budget, the minimum risk and maximum output, minimum input, maximum output, right? So the industry was really trending differently, and the opportunities that came my way were in TV, and we were shooting for those independent feature roles in particular, but so was everyone else, and without much of a I mean, the great thing about Banshee is internationally it did really well, but domestically in the States it really didn't perform particularly well, and it was I think because of where it was positioned in the TV landscape, it just with Cinemax really trying to rebrand and create themselves as a destination like another HBO, that we were part of a building process and the beginning part of that process. So it was the opportunities that came along were primarily in TV, but post that American Gothic, we sat back and went, right, let's be selective.
Yeah.
Let's really be selective. And so I knocked back a number of things. And then it was funny. There was another Amazon show that I was thinking about doing. They wanted me to come on board for the 3rd season of it, and just something didn't feel right. And I'd kind of learned my lesson by then, and I was like, "Don't do it, don't do it."
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled that I didn't, because I didn't cash my chips too early with Amazon, and then The Boys came along. I was filming a friend of mine's film. Actually, Ulrich Thompson.
Yeah.
From Banshee, right?
Yeah.
So he wrote and directed a film called Gotta Be, which is a very strange little piece.
Yeah, that's the one that just came out. Yeah, I saw that. I've been meaning to check it out. Yeah,
it's pretty bizarre, man. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. He's a pretty unique individual, and his film is reflective of that. But so I was out in New Mexico shooting that, and I got this audition briefing came through for this show called The Boys, and I was like, well, I'll get to that when I can get to that. I didn't even look at it because I was swamped. We were working every hour, God sent. And after a week, when reps got back and they said, "Oh, like, have you looked at it yet? Come on, we need a tape. This is a good one." And I sort of brushed it off and said, goodness me, don't you know how busy I am? And they said, yeah, we know you're busy, but just put a tape down. Let's get your hat in the ring. So almost out of spite, I sat there with my iPad and a dictaphone, and I used the spot on the wall and
gave a shitty tape.
Gave a shitty tape from my dressing room on this film set. And I was almost like sending it, going, "Yeah, fuck you." And then I got a call back 2 days later from my manager saying, "Good job, they loved you." And I was like, "What?"
It's always how it goes.
It was so bizarre. And it's and then it went from there. I had to I bought the behind the scenes guys a bottle of whiskey each. And actually, it was one guy, a producer, one of the producers, and the behind-the-scenes guy. I gave them each a bottle of whiskey to help me do my screen test at lunchtime on set, and they did, and we sent that in, and that was it. A couple of weeks later, I heard that you got it. So, yeah, and it was great. It was by that stage, of course, once they liked the first taping. I gave it much more serious consideration because it was already kind of in my brain. Well, it was already a comic, but there was really great people involved, and it was always something that as soon as that first taping got some traction, it was like, okay, dig in and do some work. And not to say that I didn't on the first one.
No, I get it. I know.
I was just a little distracted. You know what I mean? It was like, I don't know how to juggle all this.
Yeah.
And, I'm one of those people that can only do one thing a day.
Yeah.
That may just be getting the mails, and then I'm
I'm the same. I ran 4 miles today. I'm like, I'm done.
I'm done. I put it on the soaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
you go.
Talk to me about Homelander, man, because I know putting on a suit like that, it can be awesome or it can be humiliating. And then let alone you have a character that's really 3 characters. You got the public, persona, the private persona, and then the relationship with Elizabeth Shue. And he's kind of really those 3 people. And this is why you're such an amazing actor, man, is I didn't see Lucas Hood. I didn't see Anthony. I saw Homelander. I saw that guy, and there's so many layers to him. Was that something you?
Yeah, really... 100%. And the great news was that look, a lot of writers. Actually, I've been very fortunate with writers for the most part. Like Jonathan Tropper on Banshee, for example, and Eric Kripke is the same. That the kind of guys that are very generous and very open with their material and not precious about it. It's not to say they're not protective of it, but they're not going to just change things willy-nilly. But if you come in and you've got a reasoned, not argument, but a reasoned position or angle to make adjustments or creative ideas or whatever, the exchange has always been really good with both of those guys in particular. But specifically about Eric, he was always, my door is open. And so I took him up on that. And because I do like having that exchange, you get a lot, I find you get a lot out of that. And you look, to a certain extent as well, even if, like, I need that. I need, and I think a lot of creatives are oh, great, I've got to fly.
Oh, dude.
I can't stand them.
Anyway, I know.
Distract me, that little son of a. But
use the karate skills, bro. Just thinking.
I know. Where's my chopsticks? I'm gonna Miyagi that son of a. But no, Eric right off the bat was really collaborative and really encouraging. And I think, I mean, his line was, I'm happy to take credit for whatever you cook up. So bring it in, bring it on,
Yeah.
And it does make you take a different level of responsibility for the character and commit to the character more, and inspires you creatively. So he's a fantastic guy to have helming the show. And a lot of what's there was already in the writing, and then I would go back to him and it was very rare that there was something that I would question in terms of structure or anything like that. It was usually nuance and layers and, oh, what about this? What about this? What about this?
Yeah.
And he just keeps encouraging it and adding to it. That might fire him, like fire an idea in him, and then so it's a very open relationship in that creatively, and that it made a character like Homelander. It gave us so much more room to move,
dimensions,
so much more, because you don't feel like there's a restraint of like, oh, if I tried different things, then I might get it wrong. He was encouraging us to take risks and give it a shot. Try. And to a certain extent, we're still doing that because season 2 is really an expansion of season 1 and dealing with everything from all the repercussions of season 1. And that is, particularly at the moment with still the ever expanding, well, maybe not in COVID time, but the ever expanding TV landscape that just seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger as these online platforms keep gearing up. And
it's like just, Facebook, Yahoo, everyone's,
it's crazy. Everyone is jumping on the wagon, man. And
I don't know if it's sustainable, it doesn't.
I don't either. I'm waiting for the contraction in that respect, because I talk to everyone. I can't even, people are bringing up shows I've never even heard of, let alone watched. We're just there's so many shows now, and they're all, not all, but a lot of them are really good. There's a lot of really good shows coming out, and I think that's one of the huge positives of TV is that long form storytelling. You get to tell the story of the characters in a different way. For example, my all-time favorite TV show is Deadwood.
I'm the Wire guy, but I love Deadwood.
I mean, the Wire and Deadwood are my two favorites.
Yeah. So it must have been cool working with Frankie then,
Oh man, Frankie, the dirty commissioner. The dirty commissioner.
Burrell, that was his name.
I fucking love that show.
But
so what I was saying though is Deadwood was one of my favorite shows, and you got to love so many of those characters. And then when they put the Deadwood film out, the narrative structure is different, and they've got to focus on different people, and they've really got to pick a path for an hour and a half, right? So I missed a lot of the characters that I loved from the series, because it's just a different format. You can't get to them. So on that, in that vein, on that note, that's one of the great things about The Boys, because we've got a huge cast. We've got a massive cast of characters.
Yeah, I know.
But we have the time and the space in that TV long form story that we can dig into these characters more and fiddle around with nuance and really do something a little different to most other superhero shows.
Yeah. I went to college with Jack, so it's cool. And I did a movie.
Oh, you went to college with him?
Yeah. Oh man, me and him used to be hitting St. Mark's at the pubs, and oh man.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm so curious. That day you put the Homelander suit on, what did that feel like? Was that?
Well, that's an interesting process, because those suits take about 6 months to make. So they had to cast all the superheroes about 7 months before anyone else.
That thing where they paint your body or whatever?
No, so what happens is we went in and we did like a full body. We get stripped down to basically like skin tight outfit, and then do a body scan. So they have a measurement of our body, and then there's a series of fittings and measurements and casts and all sorts of it's a real process, man. So then they start putting the muscle suit together, and it was piece by piece over 6 months, this thing coming together. So I saw it in every phase, but there was one point when they finally got the Blue Eagle material over the muscle suit, and it started, and they put the cape on, and it was all just being held together with thumbtacks. It was basically all pinned together. But you started seeing the shape of this dude coming to being, and the boots were there, and the gloves started. Nothing was finished, but it all started coming together. And I had brown hair and stubble, and so it was like you start to see inklings. And then by the time we got up to Toronto, and we had to get there a month early because we had a bunch of fittings and shoots to do.
Yeah.
But the suit was effectively finished. It had to be tweaked and adjusted to, it's a pretty ever-evolving relationship with those suits. They tend to break, and then you gotta remake and find, and they're not necessarily ergonomically perfect off the bat. So it's a constant adjustment and evolution process.
Was it better in season 2, I hope?
It was a little bit better, but they made 2 new suits. Because the suits from so we had 2 in season 1, 2 in season 2, and of course they had to rebuild them from scratch. So again, we sort of had to reinvent the wheel a little bit. With a new team came in and to make the suits, and they were great both years, but they have they get pretty worn out at the end of the season.
Are you able to pee when you want without having to take the?
So that's one of the adjustments we had to make.
Nice.
At first, it was like I was leaning over. I had to really push this pant down and lean forward, like on an angle, on a 45-degree angle over.
Oh God!
Just to sort of hopefully not get
on
everything
the
all
suit.
over the floor. It was just, and not pee on the suit or anything. And so, in the end, we have a little zipper, zipper in the front that I can make things work. But that was a process of refinement as well. So there's all the suits really have a life of their own, and kind of you have to fit around the suit, because they cost so much money to make, and they require so much attention.
Did you keep one?
Oh, they wouldn't let me do that, my friend. That's worth more than me.
I'm gonna call Bezos, man. He can afford it.
I'll be like, come on, Jeff, give me a suit. No, I think at the end of the show, whatever run we have on the show, hopefully they'll let us take one each. But if they don't, I will be stealing it. So,
of course.
Just Would note
We'll
to
do some
Eric if you
Banshee
ever see this.
style shit, man.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna punch and kick my way out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm taking this suit. But no, they're amazing, and that moment of, you know, it's funny because I do all this work and all this script stuff, but then I don't really know, even in rehearsal, like I don't know what's going to happen on the day until we get there.
Yeah.
And then something happens that when we're in the environment, everyone's different, everyone's got their own way of working, but when we're in the environment and it's there, the person's there, the outfit's on, we're in the boardroom and there's this beautiful big set, and it's go time, and then everything sort of comes together, and all that work that you've been doing on the script and all whatever you've been doing sort of congeals or conglomerates into the moment, and then you go for it. And again, everyone's got their own process, but that first scene that we did, because I was only in two scenes in the first episode, so I sort of turned up. Everyone's been working, and I've been doing nothing, just going out in Toronto and hanging out and getting to know the restaurants that I like up there. And then I turned up to work, and it was the scene sitting in the boardroom asking everyone who they'd saved this week. It was like a little pep talk for the 7, and it was Starlight's first meeting, and she turns up late. And it was it's really weird, man. I don't know whether it's this, like it's the I think it's just everything at once, but putting on that suit as well. I mean, first of all, it adjusts your posture. I literally can't move in the same way, so it forces me upright and makes me feel a little
6'3".
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and I've got big pumps on. I've got all these lifts in my shoes, so I'm like much taller. And but it does. It makes you. It adjusts things internally, and then all of a sudden we rolled that scene out, and it started feeling like, this is good. And then it became, season 1 as with any show, is a process of discovery and figuring out what the show is and what the character is, and we just kept and will kept playing, and then season 2 did the same, and that's what we'll continue to do if we ever get out of LA to shoot a season 3, which will be great. But it's always a process of discovery and hopefully and forward movement and evolution.
Oh man, so beautiful, and I'm so grateful for you coming. And you're like a total bro, man. I could just talk to you for hours, man. We'll have to hang sometime. But
we won't be doing much talking at the box, bro.
But I'll be drinking O'Doul's. You'll be having the good time.
No. I'll be as sober as a judge, my friend. I'm not blacking out of the box.
All right, touche, brother. Well, talk to me, man. As a young, wide-eyed, New Zealander or Australian, or an American dreaming this dream. Any words of advice you would give them? I know that's very loaded.
I don't know if I'm the right person to give anyone advice. I mean, the best advice that I think anyone can give anyone is just is 2 things: just be yourself and don't quit.
Yeah, love that.
That's it. If you refuse to quit and just be you, and for better for worse, I think you'll end up in the right spot. Whether it's who knows, it might not be in this industry. It might it might be something else. But if you
goes back
stick to your guns,
staying to your instincts, man.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's really easy to get sucked into this industry, and it can very easily become the be all and end all of your life. And I don't necessarily think that's particularly healthy. But so I think the more you can maintain yourself and go and do what you love and stick to your guns, and I think if you do that, then regardless where you end up, you'll be a whole human being, and I think that's more important than making it in any industry, to be honest. But that said, if you don't quit, then something's got to happen, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, totally.
Stick to your guns and stay the course. And I think that was my acting teacher got trained by Sanford Meisner at the neighborhood playhouse, and I believe Mr. Meisner said to him and all the classes, "I wish you long will," and meaning, I hope you have the will to stick it out, because it is not an easy industry. I mean, arguably no industry is, but this can be a particularly merciless and brutal industry to be a part of. And
I'm hosting a podcast. You're doing a show, man. So one day.
But it is. I mean, look, we've all. It swings and roundabouts, man. You have an up, you have a down, and you have periods of work and periods of not work. I mean, I had a year and a half of not working when I was trying to be selective and do and pick the next. Right, actually, just before the boys. When I was really, just cautious about things and wanting to get it right, and that's hard, man. A year and a half of not working there's all sorts of crises of confidence and issues that are associated with that and come along with that. But you gotta stick to your guns, and just keep, like Rocky, just keep getting up and keep swinging.
I love it.
There you go. Be like Rocky.
And then final question, man. Anything else besides season 2 coming up in the works for you that you can announce? Or
what's difficult, because at the moment there's not a lot going on because of COVID.
Yeah.
That said, there's been a number of films that have come up, and it's just honestly, man, it's about timing, and there's not anything, nothing shooting domestically that not for me anyway. All the things that I'm looking at are over in Europe, so fingers crossed.
Yeah,
Europe will stay relatively safe, and we can.
Well, they don't have Trump. Well, they got Boris, but no Trump.
Yeah, but I think Boris, Boris has got maybe the same barber, but seems to be a little more in control.
Yeah,
they've got the same hairstylist, but well, no, actually, one's the same thing going on with their weird hair, but he seems to have got it relatively under control over there. So, like, we cross our fingers and hope that the world can get to a spot where the industry can take off again. I know it has in some parts of the world, but fingers crossed, my friend.
Fingers crossed, man. I just had my first movie audition for something in Hudson, so who knows? Maybe New York will be the place, and we'll have that night.
Well, yeah, I mean, that night. That night. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But no, we'll see, man. Hopefully, like it's like you said before. Well, like we were talking about before. It's funny talking about the film industry and talking about trying to get work, and hopefully the world, when people are getting sick left, right, and center and dropping off like flies, not to be glib about it, but there's a lot of people dying, and it's I think a lot of the people that I know as well feel pretty grateful, like not just, I mean, work would be the cherry on the icing on the cake, right? That would be amazing right now, but not getting sick for the most part is what people seem to be focusing on. So that's my job for now, is taking care of my dog and not getting sick.
Antony Starr, man, you're such an incredible actor, man, and so many amazing things are in store for you, whether it's Boys season 3 or the next Oscar film, because I know it's going to be you, man. You got the talent, you sure got the looks, man, and in all seriousness, man, I really appreciate your honesty, your candor, and just your down to earth attitude, man. It was such a pleasure, and let's get coffee one day. We'll save that crazy shit for another life. And
100%, man. As soon as the airports are bug free ish.
Yeah.
When I'm in New York, we'll get that coffee.